welcome. Over the Top Podcast. This is your boy HD here with the Over the Top Podcast crew. We got the Playmaker. What's going on, G?
Everything's great, sir. How you doing?
Good, sir. Keeping it moving. We got the young man Q. How you doing with Q?
Lakers down 0-3, but I'm still watching.
Hey man, hold on. It takes faith, sir. It takes faith the size of a mustard seed, as they say. We also got the scholar RJ. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, doing excellent.
Good. And always the lady of the crew, the big mama, we call her from time to time. Miss Toya, how you doing, Toya?
I'm good. What's up, fellas?
What's going on? Hey guys, I just want to let you know, but the platform you can find us you can also find on YouTube. We'll be on YouTube weekly. We also are going to be on WDJY 99.1 FM every Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So tune in and get some education as we try to uplift the community one conversation at a time. But we're not going to hold you too long tonight, guys. We're going to jump on right into it. We're going to talk to Miss Toya. Toya, what's the wonderful question you have for us today?
All right, this is a good ask, Toya. So, dear Toya, I saw a clip this weekend where Gabrielle Union revealed that her and her husband, D. Wade, split their bills 50-50. As an independent woman who makes her own money, do you think that once in a relationship, you should pay half the bills, or should your man pay all the bills and your money be your own money? Congratulations on the podcast going on the radio. I would like to know the fellas' opinion on this as well. I love all that you do, Miss Independent.
Well, who's gonna start? That's all you play. Okay, go ahead.
No, G, you start.
Well, the way that I look at it is every relationship is different. So you need to understand what you and your partner can agree upon and what makes the best sense for you. I can't say that one recipe works well for all relationships. So I think it's up to the individual to kind of sit down, have a discussion with your partner, and figure out what's best for you.
Okay, what you think about that, Toy? You go ahead. We'll miss it though. We'll shift it though.
I agree with G, but I also think when you're talking about that situation where D Wade makes probably 4 times more as a retired NBA player, I do know that her past has a lot to do with it. In her last relationship, she paid all the bills for the man that she was with. So I guess it's kind of her way. Women do things to kind of keep some type of control in a situation. And so I guess it's kind of her way of saying, if we just do everything 50-50, then, there'll be no, like, him saying, well, I pay all the bills and things like that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's her way of keeping some sort of control. But for me, at one time, I didn't pay any bills. All the bills were paid by my ex. I didn't work. I was a stay-at-home mom. And now I think for me, it would probably be 50-50. And like you said, it depends on the relationship. So if I ever got married again, it would be, I would say, okay, we would sit and have that conversation on what we would do. How are we going to do this? Are we going to do it 50-50, or you pay all the bills and then I take care of all the household needs, or I cover all the insurance, things like that. So it'll have to be a conversation for me. It could be like, what woman doesn't want to hear, I got you. I got all this covered. You just handle, your money is your money. I mean, even the most independent woman wants to hear that. I mean, it would be nice, but is it feasible? That's the point.
That take a millennial look. What do you say about that, Q?
So she wants her money to be her money and my money to be her money. But what happens to my money? Now, that out the way, why are we trying to take advice from a basketball player and an actress when we just regular people. That's 2. 3, inflation is high and jobs are not paying. I need help. I don't know if I can help everything if I'm by myself. I got 2 people, possibly a pet and or child. Hey, chores are cool, but the light gotta stay on too.
Who he
All right,
sound
what's your
like?
thought?
Who he sound like though?
Not me, right? Not me, right? All right, Jay, your thoughts.
You know, I was married before. And so when I was married before, it was more or less like a 50-50 type of situation. And my significant other at the time, I think that's a big part of why we ended up not being together, because she resented it to a certain degree. And consciously, she was hearing things from older people relative to what they had going on, but not verbalizing. Wasn't a great communicator. This time, we've had iterations, and I think it directly speaks to, like, the larger problem is, prior to getting married, you got to have a conversation about a couple of things. How are you going to discipline your children? What are your financial expectations? And how are you going to define conflict resolution or problem solving inside your relationship? And what essentially ends up happening is that we don't do those 2-3 things, and that's what creates the larger problem. To me, functionally, it's what works with inside the dynamic that exists in your relationship, meaning that if, like, I've always paid the mortgage. My wife has never paid a mortgage. I got a friend of mine who's like, man, I'm not paying no big bills. If you gonna be with me, you gotta pay the mortgage, Jack. And she's like, that's just her thought process. But my wife has not paid a mortgage, not paid for any living expenses since we've been together for the most part, relative to things. Stayed at home for periods of times. What I would say and what I would like to do is be able to effectively keep her home if at all possible. But that's not the nature of what we have going on. And I wish I had strived a little bit harder in school, because I'd be making money standing on my head, but that's a whole nother story. But I say it's not necessarily 50-50, it's what works with inside the relationship.
So I'm gonna go a slightly different route, because I've been, for the last couple of months, I've been watching on social media, and we're talking about relationships. And we got, and this is my opinion, and I'm coming from, first of all, if you're not married, if you're not cohabitating, no need to split no bills anyway. I mean, if you got your own house, that don't make sense to me. But we gotta stop normalizing relationships as a transaction. We do anything. So and the reason I say it is because if we're gonna be together, and if we looking at marriage, and marriage with the vows say for rich or for poor, I'm gonna bring 100% to the table, and I'm gonna need you to bring 100% to the table. Even if I can, I'm gonna still need you to bring that 100% to the table. And the reason why I say that, because now we spend money on people we love and we take care of. So I'm gonna take care of you anyway. You're gonna take care of me anyway. But money in a relationship ebbs and flows. In the first year, I could be the breadwinner, making all the money in the world. I may lose my job, can't get a job. So now my wife got to be the breadwinner because she's my helpmate. So now if she never paid any bill, and she don't know how to operate into paying the bill, she don't know how to operate the household, how can she step up and be the helpmate and take care of the house? She can't. So in my mind, let us eliminate the 50-50. If you're not willing to bring 100% of your paycheck to the table, which I'm willing to bring 100% of my paycheck to the table, we don't need to be together. Period. That's what I tell you. And this coming from a person who's been married for 23 years and been in a relationship 3 years. So 26 years.
That would still be 50-50. You know that, right?
Well, sometimes it's not 50-50. It may be 80-20. It may be 70-30.
I mean, if we both bring in our paychecks, if I'm putting in my paycheck, you put in your paycheck, and we paying bills together, we're paying the bills 50-50.
Right. It's all going
Yeah.
one pot. But I'm trying to get the money transition out of relationships, because any type of relationship we deal with, before we get married, I got the money. Who got the money? We don't know who gonna have the money in 3 years. We don't know who you gonna have the money in 5 years. You don't know. The Lord forbid your spouse get in the car accident and she or he or she who's the breadwinner cannot work no more. Now what you do? Oh, I'm gonna leave. You gonna leave now because you can't pay all the bills of the house? Now what we do? Let's take money and transactions out of relationships. We have to go back to fall in love with each other. So if I love you, I'm gonna take care of you regardless. Not because my check bigger or your check bigger. Hell, I may get in trouble, my job and get suspended. I can't work no more. I may lose my hands. I can't work no more. You gonna stop loving me?
No, I don't think the question was about love stuff. I think the question is about, like what Ron said, have the conversation to see before you even decide. These are conversations that need to be had. Regardless of if I love you or if I don't, bills got to be paid.
Right.
We got to eat. These are the conversations that need to be had to say, okay, how are we paying these bills? Am I going to pay this and you pay that? Those are the conversations that need to be had. Now, the question was, as an independent woman, which I guess I'm independent, or the person who sent the question thinks I'm independent. I'm an independent man because I don't have a helpmate. But if I did, then we would have that conversation. There's things that I learned from my last marriage that I will never do in a new situation. There's a lot of things that I learned. So the conversation about finances is one, because like you said, anything for us, the bottom fell out when my cancer hit. And where I was making the highest salary, what happened when the bottom fell out? Like you said, anything can happen. You could be 20 something years in and somebody gets hurt and can't work anymore. But if you've had that conversation, then you know how to handle bills.
And even if the woman has to be the breadwinner, she got to do it without having animosity towards the man. Because a lot of times, a lot of situations with finance, I ain't gonna hold. We all the time. We got a lot of finance, and I understand what you're saying. It is the conversation, but more than that, so you got to sit down and write out a budget. If you and your spouse have not sat down and you took, this is what I have, do what you have, and charted out a budget, shame on you. I ain't say you got to follow it, but you got to at least do it once or twice, kind of see where everybody's at. But yes. Good, Astor, you got the last word.
So you got all our opinions about it. It was a good conversation though. I like that. Thanks for asking. And if you have any more questions about it, you know where to hit me up, asktoya74@gmail.com, or asktoya on TikTok, or asktoya on Facebook. TOIA.
TOIA. So we definitely keep that on the map. Hey guys, we're gonna switch gears a little bit, going to the main topic. We're gonna jump back on the PTSS, post-traumatic slave syndrome. We didn't finish the last session, so we're gonna continue that topic tonight. We're gonna cover a lot of different areas, so we're gonna jump right into it. Under the topic of the internalized racism, I wanted to explore the subtopics of acceptance of negative stereotypes that plague our community. Stereotypes have negatively influenced many aspects of our black people beliefs about their abilities, worth, attitude, and towards themselves. One popular negative stereotype is that often associated with black folk is laziness. The lazy negative stereotype goes as far as back as slavery. There is still beliefs that black people would descend and collect public assistance rather than go out and go to work. So do we still have that laziness in here? So we're gonna go to our panel, and basically, are we still living that black lazy stereotype as a lost opportunity before person? Have we been tagged with that stereotype as a lost opportunity before a person to get a chance to know you? If somebody say, okay, you lazy person gets to know you. So we're gonna start with Q. Q, how would you feel if someone would assume that you were lazy and prevented you from obtaining any opportunity that you really wanted?
I think I'd have two reactions, and probably they'd be back to back. One would be, I'm sorry, have we met before? Why are you assuming how I would act in this role at this job? Because why are you just assuming I wouldn't be able to do this because of past experiences that you would not know because you didn't know me prior? Which that's kind of weird. And then my next reaction will be, you know what? Whatever. If you're going to make an assumption off of just looking at me and saying I don't think he's gonna fit the job, then I probably don't want that job anyway, because why are you making an assumption of somebody you don't know in the first place? You should make assumptions based off that. We've seen assumptions like that be debunked many a times. And just because the stereotype fits some people doesn't mean it's gonna fit everybody. And some people have to understand that. Tristan Thompson playing this game. That's cool.
I mean, not you. Hey, Gary, I'm gonna go with you. This is not on here, but I'm a freestyle a little bit. Cause you are in the corporate world. Do you still get that same, or do you still see that stereotype in the corporate environment? They know if they see a black lady, a black person sitting at his desk and not really doing it, he considered as subpar, lazy.
Yes, I do think it's still in some people's minds that they have to watch certain people a little bit more to make sure that they're working, especially now when you have a lot of people working from home. There's a thought that people may not be fully engaged when they're at home, and now they can't look over their shoulders like they could in the office place. So yes, I do think that it is still something that is alive and well. But I do think that now there's a lot of protections in place, so you can't just really harass people like you could back in the day. But I do think that some people still believe in that stereotype that some people are lazy, and you have to kind of watch them and make sure that they're working.
You said that they don't have it today, and I thought about Florida, so I chuckled because a lot of stuff going on in Florida now. So I thought I chuckled on that one. All right, I'm coming.
Hey, LeBron, chill. I'm sorry, continue.
Hey, Patty, hey, bro, I'm gonna come with you for this. Give me 1 second. Bro, I'm gonna come with you with this one. For people who believe in the latest lie, things like economic reform, legal protection for workers, universal health care, and welfare programs, seems unnecessary. This ideology was created to dehumanize those whom society have failed to care for. Why do you think the people continue to believe that laziness lie while overlooking the limitations that may be being placed on people?
If you really identify where we are as a country and a culture, true information based on misinformation being identified as the truth, so to speak. What we're really dealing with, what we've been dealing with probably since the turn of the century, is misinformation. And one of the things that Carter G. Woodson was talking about with the miseducation of the Negro was the thought process that what we've learned here in this country at points in time are not suitable to support us moving forward. Now, let's touch on this though. What we've essentially seen throughout our lifetime is that the economics of us being a part of this culture has been impacted by programs that have been put in our communities and the removal of things that made us independent. And that lack of independence has created a larger issue inside of our community because, like Brother Umar Johnson said, they took out the trade programs. They took out a lot of the things that helped us develop and be independent. My father's a skilled laborer. Actually, he works with his hands through heating and air conditioning, and he's made a good living. And what has effectively impacted us as a community is that those opportunities are not present. And these men, these women who do these jobs, because there's a lot of men and women women in both fields, heating, air conditioning, and electrician work, have carved out a way to the dehumanizing is the fact that these negative stereotypes continue to follow us because they were put out in movies like Birth of a Nation, things of that nature. And those tools were propaganda to make us look as if we're lazy when we built this thing. You can't build a nation and be a lazy group of people.
Facts.
So if you identify that aspect of it, that's where we're at. And we have to not buy that narrative. And one of the things that we're quick to believe the negative aspects of who we are as a people. And that struggle for me, one of the greatest things I've ever heard, and I'm gonna end it on this. It's easy to kill an N-word, or it's hard to kill a brother. So if I identify you as my brother and I uplift you, then ultimately we're gonna be able to walk lockstep and do some great things together. But if I see you as an N-word, then your life is less valuable. And I'm just being honest. I hate to say it, and that's the dehumanization.
Good point. Toya, I'm gonna come with you with this one. I know again this is a little unscripted. How do you, as a parent, I know you with your two little ones, how do you as a parent continue to deal with them, try to debunk these stereotypes and give them and give your girls the energy and give the positive affirmations they need to overcome such the laziness quote stereotype? How do we do that with our children?
First, you have to have the conversation. I think everybody here can probably remember the first time they encountered some form of racism. I know I can. And it's probably at a young age. For us, when we moved to South Orange, New Jersey, I was 8 years old, and they painted the side of our house. Ends go away, coons, and now these are $1 million homes, so you can imagine how huge the house is. And they painted the side of our house. Our neighborhood was actually one of the blackest neighborhood streets in the area, where all of our neighbors, it was a mixture. It was a good mixture. But we were new, of course, and you have more blacks moving into a predominantly white town. And so that, I remember that. And I had to have, it was like, what does that mean? And my parents had the conversation with all of us about it. My kids are in a area where they see everything looks like them, even in their school, from leadership down to janitors, look like them. It is red, black, and brown. So it's not in a few sprinkles of white. We've invited them to the picnic. But like this weekend, when we go into other areas where Zoe's doing theater, 150 to 200 kids, and I literally counted for every play that it was this weekend, there was 11 black kids out of almost 200 kids. So in a whole theater production, it was about 11 black kids, unless some was passing, and I just didn't know. But those are the places where they go, on the golf course, where they go, that we have had to have the conversation, because even when they're playing video games, even in Roblox, because that's a game where they all play together and it's everybody in the game and all their friends can play together at one time. And they make little characters that look like them. So of course their characters are brown because that's what they look like. There is racism in the game. There are kids that say, oh, you this and you that. So we have to have those conversations, which is sad at an early age, on what stereotypes are, what racism is, how to make your skin a little thick, which is a problem for little girls who just love the world and love everybody, because it's not you're not born racist. You're not born to hate. You're born, if you come out, your parents are what influence you. So we do have those stereotypes, and I do positive affirmations every day. So if they take their lunch, they know that there's a note in their lunchbox from mommy. If I forget, they will remind me to put a note in their lunchbox that says something positive to get them through the day. And y'all know, because I send a positive message every morning. So I do that for them, so that they know that they are magical, that they are beautiful, that they are Black, they are confident and cocky. These are the things that we have to instill in them since when they're born. Like, you're just loving on it. For my mom, for me, being the darkest one in the house, it was always, she used flavors for us. So I was her little chocolate this and her chocolate that, to make me know. And she really reinforced things, because it did get to a point where I about hated the color of my skin, because it was talked about so badly, to reinforce that I was beautiful. And that might be why I'm so cocky today. But
maybe. Maybe.
But those are the things that we have to do.
But those are valid points. So we're gonna keep it pushing. But before it came, now another thing we want to talk about, another stereotype we want to talk about, is the watermelon. So before it became a racial stereotype in the Jim Crow era, the watermelon was once a symbolized self-sufficient amongst the African American community. That's how we gained our wealth and made our money during that time. But many of the African American grew and sold watermelons, and that became a symbol of their freedom. But what did that, just like anything else, when we try to do something, me and your white Southerners or your white supremacy, they kind of felt some type of way, because we was getting a little bit of income, and they actually used the watermelon and turned the fruit into a symbol of poverty, to shame Black people who eat watermelon, or Black merchants who sell watermelon, including postcards and pictures of African Americans stealing, fighting over, or sitting in the street to eating watermelon. The watermelon became eaten hand to mouth without utensils, which made it impossible to consume without making a mess, therefore branded a public nuisance. RJ, I'm gonna come with you with this one, RJ. Have harmful stereotypes has been linked to comprise well-being, including loneliness, sadness, anger, and low life satisfaction. How do we better protect ourselves from buying into these negative stereotypes?
The one thing we have to really rule out is perception is reality. And what Toya was saying, to piggyback off of what she's saying, is that you have to build your kids up and give them clarity as it relates to who they are. One of the reasons why critical race theory is being banned, and one of the reasons why history is coming under attack right now, is because history enlightens people. It brings light. It changes things, right? And so essentially what we've been battling is a battle of propaganda from the beginning of our time here on this continent. Shadow slavery has done a heck of a job on us, and the nuances of it have always changed. Each generation has had a different iteration of how they would manifest those negative stereotypes on us. And so what you see really at the spirit of the tip is that it is in the state of Florida. And so when we start talking about Governor DeSantis and his thought process in relationship to how he has started this whole fight against the woke movement and aspects, he's at the tip of the spear right now. For a long time, it was Trump. He's at the tip of the spear. And what we need to be aware of is that we don't allow our history to be suppressed and rewritten. And you know, one of the things that really helped us and what enhanced our lives was eyes on the prize. those things, those PBS series that we saw when we was kids, really gave us the history. And we had teachers who actually lived it. I remember this, I think it was my 8th grade teacher, 7th or 8th grade teacher, and it was DC history. And she recounted the times where they were colored in white water fountains in DC, which was called Chocolate City. So when you reflect on that and have that real conversation and that real expression, I cannot remember that sister's name, but I can see her face as clear as day. It was so beautiful to hear those experiences and have those conversations because they enlightened me and they let me know who I was and what I was. And one of the things I hold on to and I'm true to is understanding my family's roots. We do not want to access the pain of our struggle for fear of the fact that it will become us. But in all true honesty, through that struggle, I feel like we're empowered to understand where we come from and to not let ourselves fall into places where we get complacent about what we're striving for. And so when you're being represented, or when you're walking the streets, or when you're going places, you're not just representing you, you're representing the name that's on your back. And that's essentially important. Your name should mean something. I heard Jerome say, and I'm gonna chat up on this one. I heard Jerome's dad say, he said, I don't have a lot of money to give you, son, but what I got is a good name. He said, I'm gonna send you to school with that, and you go forth with that. And that sense of pride in what we are and what we were is not a part of who we are now, and we need to get that back.
Quinn, I'm gonna come with you a different cue. Now I'm coming to you, Nesbitt. Right now, do you sense in your generation these heavy stereotypes when it comes to like watermelon eating or anything like that? Do you find that happening in your age group also?
Well, first I'd say I don't even like watermelon, so this question is kind of.
Well, it's the theory behind it, sir. They deal with the theory behind it. I understand.
Different people see it differently. Me personally, I kind of just keep going with. I kind of keep going with life and how life treats me. If I see anything like, whoa, why are you treating me like this, or treating someone else like this, I'm gonna say, hey, why are you treating me like this? Why are you treating someone else like this? I also know some people do have self-inflicted wounds. Meaning, there's a lot of people who just they'll do things and they'll blame someone else when in reality they're the ones who punch themselves. Like you can't punch yourself, treat yourself, and do all that, and then blame someone else for doing it. So it's not really a lot I get on it.
So okay.
That's how I got on that.
Okay. Playmaker, I'm coming with you. I know you're a parent and you're looking for the future. How are you preparing? First of all, before we ask that question, give a response to what you heard from Ron and Quentin, and then come back. I just want to know how are you preparing your child going forward, or what some of the steps you're looking to put in place to debunk some of these stereotypes.
Okay, try to sum up some of the previous comments. I think first is to understand what stereotypes are and not to give them power. I think that the stereotype of being lazy, or just really any stereotype, is just words until you start giving it power. If you start hearing people say, oh, we're lazy, and you start buying into that and giving it power, then it can have an impact on how you respond in the work that you are assigned to do. So I think you have to first identify what stereotypes are and not buy into them or give them power. I agree with what Toya was saying, is that you have to empower yourself and people around you to say, hey, this is not us. We are better than these different stereotypes, and have a I guess combat the negative with something positive. And then as far as the kids, I think Toya was right on. I think you have to definitely empower your kids. Every day we encourage them daily so that they know that, hey, what other people are saying and don't give that power, but pay attention to it, to the people who love them and know what's best for them is trying to teach them.
Good stuff, good stuff. We got one more out there for what I want to go over tonight, because I think it's important. Now, in this stereotype, not only does the white community label this, we as black men got to do a better job at not labeling this. And this is the stereotype of our beautiful black women. We always, the one of the stereotypes we put black women into three categories. Either they're going to be the strong black woman, the angry black woman, or the dime piece. And that's the stereotype of our black women. But these stereotypes affect how people see our black women, and how not only see our black women, how they affect how we communicate and deal with our black women because of these stereotypes. And I'm gonna go out scribbling, but I'll call these stereotypes. If we see a black woman because of their demeanor, we want to approach her because we feel like she's an angry black woman, or on the job place. She gotta act a certain way or speak a certain way, so it don't come off of her being an angry black woman at the job place, which may affect her income. So that's something that I know with black women, black women face on a daily basis. And again, it must be exhausting to be carefully monitored for your expressions and your body languages to make sure that you sound calm or reasonable. And that's the black men too, but we're gonna deal with the black women right now. And don't come off offensive. And I'm gonna go with you with this, Toy, because we don't have much time, but because you kind of get the gist of what we're talking about. What are your thoughts about these three stereotypes of the strong black woman or the angry black woman or the dime piece? How do they affect black women as a whole?
So the strong black woman, we'll start with that. It was coined by Mary Church Terrell, who was a suffragette in the 19th century. She wanted to uplift. She wanted to take away those stereotypes, the stereotype of the Jezebel and the Mammy and the Sapphire, which is the angry black woman. And so they coined this, strong black women, rise to decline. And at the time, it was probably a good idea so that we can get out of those stereotypes. But now it's become overly combative. It hinders us because we are the savior of everyone, of our men, of our children, of white women, of white men. It's like when you watch The Help, Viola, she's aimed at everybody. But who was, she was hurting. So we have to internalize everything. It is emotionally draining, it is mentally draining, and it is physically draining. It falls over into our relationships because there's a lot of men who want a strong black woman. But some of us who are strong and maybe tired of being strong also want to be vulnerable sometimes. We want to hear, like I said earlier, we want to hear that, I got you. Just, be still for a minute. And I know black men want to hear that too. Like, just, you want to come home and just have peace. But when you're taking care of everybody, you're not really paying attention to yourself and you're wrapping everything up inside. Whereas like you said, you have that angry black woman. We can't be angry. We can watch white women have white women tears in public. And we can watch Karens act the whole monkey and it be okay. But as soon as we open our mouth to say anything, then we get that, oh, that's that angry black woman. That's that Sapphire. Oh, she's just an angry black woman. Like, we're not allowed to have feelings. We're not allowed to cry. And I will tell you this, it is a part when we're talking about PTSS, because my dad used to always say, if I had one tear, don't give me them crocodile tears. Stay strong. To the point where it was so in me that I never cried. I never cried. It can be probably the worst thing can happen to me, and I would never cry, because why? You gotta be strong. You gotta stay strong. You can't be out here crying in front of people and acting up and having emotional breakdowns. So it makes us maybe too strong, but it also falls over into our physical, into our health. And this is why Black women are the first to have issues when it comes to healthcare. We don't want to go to mental health workers because we're supposed to be strong. We just have to figure it out on our own. This is why a lot of us have a high percentage of mental breakdowns. When it comes to us being sick and the doctor's not listening, or when we're having babies and the doctors don't listen, it's because they literally assume that we are stronger than the average. We're not a real person. We're different. And so, right. And so,
half man, half human.
Right. And so it falls over. And this is why we have healthcare disparities and mental health disparities, because we're so trying to be strong to avoid being the angry or being the Jezebel or being the mammy. So we have to learn how to say it's okay, and it's okay to not be okay. And we don't have to be strong all the time. So I tell people this, there's a cup, and I do it, and y'all know this weekend I was all over the place. There's a cup. Everything that overflows, if we're pouring water into that cup, everything that overflows is for everybody else. But what's left in that cup is for me. And if I have to have a moment, it's okay for me to have a moment. And then I'll chop it up and go back to being strong.
Ryan, I'm gonna go with you with this. I know this is out of script, so if time kind of running down, so I'm gonna give you only a couple of minutes to kind of answer it. So I ain't mean to put you in a bind. But do Black men really want very strong, independent women? Is that what we really is that? I mean, I know this one we great, but do you think do we, is that something that, for your opinion, do we really want that strong, independent, I can do it myself woman?
For me, doesn't bother me. Somebody else, it may bother them. What I will say is this, for me, I feel like the more that woman can do, the less it takes out for me, but at the same time, it makes us a stronger team. But I don't want to overwhelm her either. And so with that being said, it's directly related to like, what suits you. But what we have to really realize is that in our culture, right? One of the number one things that has been impacted by slavery is roles. And then when you start to analyze the things that have happened over the times with the number of the external, and I don't want to try to get all deep, so I'm not going to do that. But a number of the programs and situations that have been put in place, those circumstances have created a very real barrier between the Black woman and the Black man. And that strong Black woman, quote, has bared the fruit of a level of frustration of us cooperating with aspects of being a cosmopolitan woman in terms of like some of the sisters identifying with that, right? And some of us as men have let ourselves off the hook and not handled our responsibilities at an earlier stage in the last generation. This generation right now is doing a lot better in terms of being present and being good fathers. The issue I have with the question that you asked me more than anything else is we have to have a level of connectivity and understanding and come together under the same umbrella and work this thing out. Bottom line. So it ain't no strong Black woman if it ain't no strong Black man. And if we can unite around that principle, we'll be fine.
You got the last word on the subject, Nez, with 2 minutes.
So I think I want to start by saying you have to kind of look to the history of why the term of angry black woman and strong black woman came about. And that was if you dehumanize the black woman, you could beat her, you could make her work. And those stereotypes we need to kind of get away from as we see in listening to what Toya was saying, the kind of trauma and stress that they put on our black women. I grew up with a single parent home, so I only saw my mom do everything, so she had to be strong. But that doesn't mean that every woman that I come in contact with has to have the same type of strength that my mom had, because all of those women don't have to be in that same kind of scenario. So I have to change my thinking when I look at women and compare them to the woman that trained me. And then the last thing I want to say is that the dime piece thing was more about how society has over-sexualized black women and don't really pay attention to the mind and the creativity that they have, but also always pay attention to their bodies and how that can cause a lot of stress on our women. Is that when they walk out the door, no matter how smart they are, how many degrees they have, guys are checking them out and paying more attention to their bodies than any other thing that they can bring to the table, and how that has stress and an impact on our women as well. So all of these things, I think, as black men, we have to kind of be conscious of and pay attention to when we're dealing with our black women and when we're trying to be in roles to protect our black women.
I definitely agree wholeheartedly with that point. And I'm gonna kind of wrap it up and try to wrap it up a little bit. But I guess the point I was making, as far as asking the question about, do we really want that strong black woman? Because a lot of times I think women take on a heavier role, and all that we ask them. I know for me, ask you to do this, just to help out. I mean, I'm not saying don't be strong, don't have your opinion, but don't be to the point where it's confrontational all the time. And we gotta, and we as men gotta understand the pressures that black women go through. Although we go through a lot, black women go through a lot also. So we gotta give them that space to be whatever God has them to be, let them flourish it and grow. It's almost like a plant. You gotta keep nourishing it and feed it and pour into it so they can be strong. But guys, great conversation. We will continue the conversation. We will continue this conversation as we continue through. It never ends. But great show. But we gonna go around the round table. Toya, give me your last words for the night.
Give black women a break. We tired. Just sometimes we just need a hug. I like a good hug. I'm a hug and a forehead kiss. That's the best thing ever in the world. Give us a break sometimes. We go through a lot. Y'all go through a lot too. How about we give each other a break? That part.
Got you.
Just
Playmaker.
love on each other.
Love on each other. Playmaker. Last word.
So mine is going to be totally against what the show was going about. I'm just going to pay attention to what's going on in Florida and guard yourself accordingly.
Facts. Q, last word.
Go watch Little Mermaid. And anyone who's upset about a mermaid being black has too much time on their hands and needs to go outside and touch grass.
All right. There you go. RJ, last word for the night, buddy.
I want us to work on developing a level of awareness. And what I mean by a level of awareness is awareness in real time. A lot of times what ends up happening is that in real time, the mistake is being made or the pain is happening, and we're not acknowledging that we're impacting people by the things that we do. Let's work on being more mindful of the things that we say out of our mouths and how we impact people by the things that we do. That's me.
Great last word. Hey guys, my last word, and it kind of piggyback a little bit, Gary. The assignment has been given. The NAACP has put a travel advisory on Florida. Understand the assignment. Follow the assignment. The assignment has been set out. Do your homework, follow the assignment. And I'm gonna leave with this, guys. We talk about give black women a break, and we need to give black women a break. We need to give black men a break, but we need to give let's stop let social media dictate on how relationships are supposed to work, how marriage is supposed to work. There's a book out there, guys, that have everything about that were formed and developed by the head man. They have a detailed outline of what marriage is supposed to be like, guys. If we follow that guy, we probably won't have no problems. But that's my last word. And like always, guys, may your next move be the game changer. Good night.